Morning if you're in the our time zone. Of course, we may have folks joining from anywhere in the world, but I'm coming at you from Bellevue, Washington on Cougar Mountain, and we are going to be doing something called a visual journal exercise today, activity. And I should say who I am. I'm a graphic designer and former teacher and educator, and currently I'm working for Smart Technologies, creating content for smart boards, interactive content for smart boards. All right. So as I was saying, we're going to get into this visual journaling activity. And a visual journal, if you're not familiar with it, is essentially like a normal journal, except the medium, of course, is expanded a little bit. So you can, of course, write your thoughts and feelings as you might in a regular journal, as well as decorate them and express them in multiple media and variety. In this case, we're using some magic markers. We're going to be using some collage out of a magazine. I have my trusty National Geographic here. And we have paper, scissors, glue, and a pen, along with our magic markers. So, the nice thing about a visual journal is that, first of all, it's a very meditative and relaxing thing to do, but it's also a nice place, a catch-all for ways to capture your life. So one way that I've seen people use their visual journal is to write a grocery list in it on one day, and the next day turn their grocery list into an illustrated poem. So that's not quite what we're going to do right now, but we're going to do a version of that, which is we're going to start with a short poem. And it's a deceptively simple short poem, but it's one that I find is actually quite interesting and complex in how it gets us to express ourselves. And it's very formulated, a very strong structure. And as you can see here, I'll show you the format. So it's a 6-line poem. And the first line of this poem begins with I am, and then 2 attributes. And I don't know how well you can see my handwriting from this far away, but it's an I am with 2 attributes. For example, I'll use a separate color pen here. I would say I am creative and supportive. Again, this is, I can see the camera is just too far away to really capture what it is I'm writing, but I guess I'll skip the blue pen. Anyway, 2 attributes. The second line is I wonder. Something that you wonder about. And, oh, we have people saying they can see it. Oh, fantastic. That's what I want to hear. So the first line is I am, and 2 attributes that describe who you are. Whatever they may be. I know it's hard to just come up with 2, but we're going to force ourselves into this structure. The second line is I wonder, something you wonder. The third line is I hear. And you can either pick something that you hear in this moment, which I think is an interesting and fun way to go. You can also pick something that resonates with you psychically. Like you hear, maybe what were you thinking about this morning? Maybe it can be a sound that came out of a memory or thought process. So in my case, I hear a tire swing swishing will be my line, for example. I'll come up with a new line. This is an old poem I'm using right now, but The fourth line is I see. Again, it can be something you look out the window and you see at this very moment, which is, I think, very compelling. It can also be something you see in a more imaginative way. 5, the fifth line is I want. Something that you want for yourself or the people in your life or the world itself. And the sixth line is nice and simple, exactly the same as line 1. Repeating line 1, I am 2 attributes. So it is 11:10 at this moment. Let's give ourselves 5 minutes to write this quick little poem and see what we come up with. Alrighty, I will be back at 11:15. All right. So we have our poem now. And we will transfer onto our journal. Go. So for our journal today, I'm using a piece of paper that I'm folding in half. Of course, the optimal situation is to have an actual book or notepad that you keep all of your entries in. But because this is a short workshop, we're just using a single entry. But I will fold my paper over to mimic the spread of a notebook or a sketch pad. I'm gonna just fold it over, make a crease in the center. And now we're actually going to put our poem aside for a second, but I'll refer to this model here, which, as you can see, has multiple elements, and we're actually going to go through them fairly methodically. So as you can see, we have a hero image over here, and that's what we're going to start with in terms of finding an image from our scrap magazine or whatever you have available to you. And then we're going to flow the text around that hero image, and that text will be our poem. The next thing we'll do is find a grounding element, something that may not be thematically related to your poem, like your hero image may be. I encourage you to find a hero image that in some way has a resonance with the poem you've written. We're going to find a grounding element that echoes that hero element in some way. In this case, I had color. The color was the thing that grounded, that corresponded with that hero image. And we'll find some decorative shapes that should really just be interesting patterns, or again, colors that really correspond and overlap and expand on the colors and shapes you have already. And then we will decorate with some magic markers that are particularly relevant to the poem we've written. So that's the outline, that's the plan. So let's get started. Now that we have our notebook folded over, we're going to jump into whatever resource we have. Here's my National Geographic, and hopefully you have something to cut out of. And if not, then feel free to draw your hero image right in the center of your spread. So as we go on our hero image hunt, it's 11:18. Let's give us 2 minutes to find the image and then a minute to cut it out. This is a speedy little workshop here, and it's okay if you don't finish in that amount of time, but that is the amount of time that I will give us, and then keep moving forward. And of course, you can be working at your own pace as we do that. All right, here we go. So 11:21. Let's go back. I'm suffering from my own time frame here, but we are almost back. Okay. So I have found this bizarre iguana, it looks like, who has captured a bug with its tongue. And it is going to sit right about here, I think. It's going to sort of take over this side of the page. And now I'm going to put some glue on the back of it. Get it onto the page here. I always keep an extra sheet of paper for gluing stuff. Don't get the glue elsewhere. All right, my hero image is going on to the page here. Okay, I like how strange that looks. So now that I have my hero image down, I am going to be putting in the poem that we've just written. And I'm going to think about how the words should flow around my hero image. Sometimes they can follow the contour of it. Maybe it could go all the way around the bug, or up around the tongue and back to his neck, or maybe it could go in straight lines across and sort of jump over where there's the hero image. And I think that's probably what I'll do with this one, but I encourage you to think about, maybe you can string it around the edge of your page. Part of the visual journal experience is to bring visual elements to our writing and allow the writing to express itself in a way beyond just the words. So we're trying to expand the medium that we're working in. So I will now take, let's see, I'll try to write this out in about 3 minutes. It is 11:25. I will see if I can write my poem down in a few minutes at around 11:28, maybe 11:29. All right, let's do it. Okay, so I'm going to be reading this poem at the end of this workshop, and I encourage all of us, you can probably read some of it just on the camera, but I encourage you to think about if you want to share as well, because that's one of the most fun parts of these events. So, but before we share, we're going to continue with our creation of this spread. So now that we have our, I'll refer to my model here. Now that we have, come on, here we go. Now that we have our hero image and we've spread the text across and around and behind and through, now we're going to look for our grounding element, which is something that echoes the hero image, but is aligned to the edge of the page one way or another. And I encourage you to make it simple. You know, less is often more design. So with that in mind, I'm going to go on the hunt for an element that maybe it'll be, it'll somehow decorate this layout. So maybe it'll be like a big triangle that goes across the edge here, because that would meet the corners and sort of ground everything. Maybe, I'm not entirely sure, maybe it'll be like a wavy edge over here. That might be fun. So let's take a few minutes, 2 minutes to find, 1 minute to cut, and I'll see you back. That's an optimistic timeline, but let's see if we can do it. Okay, grounding element found and cut. I'm going to turn it over, glue, and put it in place. I'm pleased to have found an image with lots of people at the bottom from far away who will hopefully look like more bugs for my creature to devour. I'm just going to recut. Okay. So we have our hero image, our poem, our grounding elements, and now is the time to find our decorative shapes. In this case, we had these bars coming out from the bottom up to the feet of our hero. In terms of what I'm thinking for this strange creature, I could see maybe little circles sort of dotting around the edges here. Or maybe triangles, because I have this triangle here, but I want something to echo, some element to echo what we already have. So with that in mind, let's hunt for a decorative image to cut up. Again, 2 minutes to find and a minute to cut. Let's say 11:40. Okay. So this is a little risk I've taken. I'm not sure what the shape is I've cut out, but it was a tongue-inspired shape. Now we can take a moment to glue them down wherever we think they will look good. If you don't have a glue stick, tape will also work just fine. Let's see. It looks like I'll need one more. Sometimes I have elements that run off the edge of the page, and if that's the case, I just clip the ends. Keep it nice and flush. Okay. So we're getting there, because we're on our last step before we read these things, these fun little poems that are very compelling, I think. And finally, we've arrived at our markers. You may have been using markers all along, but now we get to officially use our markers. And for this stage, I encourage you to look through your lines, the lines of your poem, and look for any imagistic words. So I see I have sword ferns here. I have my laptop fan. I have a path and a world, maybe like a globe. So think about how these things can be sort of worked in or sketched in or even just scratched into your page at large here. And for the last touch, I encourage you to think of an abstract shape to sort of decorate or even fill any empty space. Of course, empty space, white space is often very nice to have and to keep. But in this case, I think I'm going to use a pattern shape to fill in some of this space. All right, and here we are. We have an entry into our visual journal. We have lots of different elements that build and work off of each other. The first line of my poem is, "I am passionate and adventurous," and that helped me find this very odd, adventurous-looking iguana. Maybe I'm getting that name wrong. I think it's an iguana. And that led me through the rest of these decisions. I'm so interested to see what decisions you made. I know that you may not have had all of the resources that I came with today. Maybe you just had to sketch in lines. Maybe you had to use tape and not glue. That is just fine and is very much part of the visual journaling process, because often a visual journal happens when you're at a cafe waiting for a friend, or in the middle of maybe a bus commute, traffic. Hopefully you're not doing it while you're driving. But anyway, these things happen naturally and organically with whatever is around you. So I'm going to read this poem, and then, if possible, I'd love to hear you read your poem and share what you've written. If not possible, I'm going to have to maybe ask you to write your poem in the chat. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to unmute for a second and correspond with Catherine so I can hear what she has to say, and I'll be right back. Catherine, is it possible for folks to share their work with us? Catherine, maybe you can tell us in the chat. I see Kathleen has said, "My husband's dental office stationery flipped worked well." I think that is such a great solution to what we're up to right now. Okay, well, Catherine may be occupied, and in which case I do not have the power to source what you have done, but I will read my poem and I will invite you to write down your poem into the chat, because these are really interesting and fun things to do. My poem is, "I am passionate and adventurous. I wonder where this path will lead. I hear the fan of my laptop buzzing. I see sword ferns bending in the sun. I want a world that works for everyone. I am passionate and adventurous. Wonderful. Guadalupe, thank you for sharing. Even the first line of your poem would be just such a great gift to as we wrap up our workshop here. Guadalupe says, "I am thoughtful in giving." I think that is such a strong first line. Sierra, I hope I'm saying that right, because I am caring and sensitive. These are awesome. I'm happy and excited, says Billy. I'm relaxed yet restless, says Lindsay. What an interesting combination. I love that. I think I can empathize a lot with that. I wonder what the next year will look like. I'm quiet and thoughtful. I am silent and pensive. I'm opinionated and shy. I love that combination, and I know it well. I'm creative and joyful, says Angel. I'm patient and curious, says Janelle. This is so awesome. Casey says, I'm happy and creative. Oh, we have another line from Sierra. I hear my daughter and fiance playing in the other room and my laptop fan running. Yes, both of our laptop fans are going strong. Sheila says, I'm creative and supportive. I wonder how our new class will be. I hear music in Jack's voice. I see green and it's alive, and I want my family closer. I am strong and capable. Sheila, what a gorgeous poem. Thank you for sharing. This says, I'm curious and outgoing. Awesome. Guadalupe shared a poem. This is fun. I'm thoughtful in giving. Oh, I'm going to have to expand the chat here. Okay. I'm thoughtful in giving. I wonder if people will stop harming the planet. I hear the pleas of so many needs. I see beauty in forests and sky full of stars. I want to be surrounded with lives of love, fun, and joy. I am thoughtful and giving. Guadalupe, that is wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
If people want to try to go ahead and join, if they want to share their audio, up on the top right-hand part of your screen, folks, you can click join audio and video, and I think I can moderate that in. I think Catherine is taking care of an issue right now in another session.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. It would be so cool to hear folks share their work.